Okay, so this morning I'm going to run through being able to submit orders using 2020 design. We're gonna kind of talk about this in two parts because there is still a little bit that will have to happen within the portal. And so we're gonna kind of talk about what will happen through the CWP Partner Site first. So kind of the overview we'll talk about is essentially you would have your project designed in 2020. You're going to want to make sure that you are using the most current CWP catalog, which is the CWP 24. We're going to talk about some of the SAVE required documents that you're going to need to have when submitting the order: dimension floor plan, elevations, a 2020 cabinet list, appliance spec. And we'll go through and talk about these in detail. And then also, as I mentioned, the items that will be required on the CWP partner site, creating a project header and styling sections and rooms. So the first thing you'll want to do when you want to submit an order using 2020 is you're still going to want to go to the CWP partner site and go to your My Projects, and you're going to still create a new project and you'll enter in the customer information as normal. That is then going to take you to the project information page. Most of everyone is used to seeing where there was the pricing section up at the top where you were doing styling sections and your new rooms. You're now going to see the option down here where it says 2020 order, and it will have new styling section, new room underneath that 2020 order. So this is where you're going to want to go through and create your styling sections and your rooms. This may not be turned on quite yet for everybody. So if you don't see this when you go in, you'll just want to reach out to your specific sales rep for them to turn on. So you'll be able to see that 2020 order. So you'll create your styling section as normal, essentially your order header. So you'll go through and put in wood, finish, door style, and make any normal notes like you might have made before. If you're doing solid slabs, 5-piece, a combination of those. And so you'll want to create as many styling sections as you need. So in this example we'll run through today, we're going to be using a kitchen that's got a perimeter and an island. So we've got our styling section entered in for our perimeter, which is paint grade stone, and then our island hickory praline. So once you've got your styling sections created, then you will just create a room and put it under the appropriate styling section. So normally when you were entering in a new room, this screen would be the first one that popped up where you would be able to name the room, enter the ceiling height, and then put in any overall notes for the job. You will still do that the same way, but it will stop after this because you're not going to then enter in each of your items anymore. And so you'll see that that's created this section under the 2020 order with your styling sections and your rooms. Then you're ready to submit the order at that point with just those headers created. And so you would then click new, add to order, and then proceed as normal. But the documents you're going to attach are going to be some 2020 documentation, which we're going to walk through. So what we are asking that you submit to us is a dimensioned floor plan with a legend, dimensioned elevations with a legend, a 2020 cabinet list, and then of course, like normal, your appliance and plumbing specs for anything specific that we would need to see that. So the dimension floor plan, probably most everybody uses the all tab within 2020, but if you can send us the dimensioned floor plan utilizing this NKBA tab, what that NKBA tab does is it cleans up some of the dimensions and gives us some of those center lines, because those center lines are important to us when we're game building the cabinetry. And so this kind of gives us those dimensions that we're looking for on the floor plan. So when you're utilizing the NKBA tab for the dimension floor plan, we'll also want you to add a legend to that. And so you can right click on your floor plan and you can add the legend by either selecting display settings, or you can go right to the legend. But when it pops the window open for the legend, you'll want to make sure that automatic legend is selected as well as user code. Then you can apply that and it is going to show up on your drawing like you see here. And so essentially what that's doing for us is it's giving those cabinets numbers and a legend there, like how we have been asking you to number your floor plan and then number the cabinets when you're entering each of the items into the partner site. You will also want to add that legend to your elevations as well. It's the same process as adding it to the floor plan, but you'll want to add it to each of the elevations in the design. So once you've added those the legend to the floor plan and to any elevations, then you can print those and save those as a PDF. The other thing I'm going to touch on briefly, and if people have more questions, we can talk about this in detail, but if you don't want to have to go in each time and manually add the legend through the steps that I just walked through, you can create a scheme to save it so that if you wanted to save that and be able to drop down, for instance, in this example, I've saved one that is the CWP and KBA legend FP for floor plan, and you could then just select that drop down menu, and also you can save it in your preferences if you wanted that to show up every time you were in a new floor plan drawing. And so you can do that through preferences, the display tab schemes. You can change that on just that NKB tab. You can do the drop down menu, and then you can see here the one I named, the CWP NKBA legend floor plan. And you can do the same thing for the elevations. And then you would just apply it and it would save it and then show up on any new designs you were doing in 2020. The other item is when you were entering items in the CWP partner site, you were able to put notes in there when you were entering. And so we're still going to need you to include notes like that. In this example, this is an oven cabinet. So we're adding those notes in the cabinet attributes for that cabinet under the notes tab. So you can see here for this oven cabinet, you know we want flush toe. We're calling out the style and scribe dimensions that we need, what the cutouts for the double oven would be. Also, we're want a partition centered in the cabinet with tray dividers on the right. So you would want to add those notes into those attributes. Another example would be a wall cabinet prep for glass doors. If in the attributes under the note tab, you just typed in that you wanted top door prep for glass and then the thickness of the glass, would help us because this is going to show up in a second on the cabinet list that we're going to ask for you to send us. So to talk a little bit about custom quotes. So any custom quotes that are associated with a project, we're going to need you to communicate those with the 2020 order submission. So this might be things like a wood, a finish, door style, an enhancement, and accessory. Likely if you had a custom door or a custom wood, you would be kind of communicating that to us through the styling section when you were entering the order. So we would be able to see that. But another example would be is if you had a custom quote on a hood and you had used maybe one of our standard hoods in your 2020 design to be able to show your customer, and maybe you did some modifications to that to show it correctly, but knew you had a custom quote. When I was showing where you were putting the notes in the attributes on the cabinet is where you would then want to note what your custom quote number was. So it's telling us when we receive the order what custom quote needs to be used. And again, you'll always want to check your acknowledgement drawings carefully to make sure that those custom quotes have been entered correctly. So now let's talk about the list. So what we were going to ask for you to do, if when you go to reports, if you can select cabinet list. When it gives you these options, if you can make sure that the sort order is tall wall base, and then if you will toggle on where it says legend, then when you print that report for us, you will see that that legend number is going to correlate to the legend on the floor plan. So that will kind of show the project managers, they won't necessarily have to figure out where each placement is. They'll be able to reference this legend tab. You can also see that that oven cabinet that I was showing with the notes, that all of those notes are showing up on this cabinet list that the project manager would be able to see once you're submitted the order. And then again, we're always asking if you can send us the appliance and plumbing specs that we need to know. We don't need all of the pages on an appliance spec, but it's always helpful to have, for instance, over here on the right, where you just see where it's calling out cutout widths, heights, depths. That's kind of helpful to use as a reference. And then just as a reminder that we do have this 2020 email set up. So again, if you're coming across something with 2020 and want to send it into this email, we're monitoring that email if you come across anything that seems like it's not working properly with 2020. So I'm going to exit out of the PowerPoint and I'm going to open up a 2020 drawing and just kind of show some of what we were talking about. So here is just this basic design of this kitchen. This has been designed in 2020. So again, I've right-clicked on this oven cabinet, and when I open up the attributes, this notes tab is where we've typed in all of those notes. The other example was I was mentioning about if you had a custom quote for a hood, you could click on the attributes, go to notes, and then you could type in a note. And you could say, please see custom quote. And then you can type in our 4-digit code that you would have been given, apply, and then that note's going to show up on our cabinet list. And so when you go to that NKBA floor plan, you can see when I'm looking at all, I've got kind of a lot of extra dimensions that you can go through here and clean up, but this NKBA tab simplifies it so that you don't have to spend a lot of time cleaning up those dimensions. So if I right click on the floor plan and go to that legend, I can do the automatic legend, user code is selected, I can hit apply and okay, and it's numbered my cabinets. And then you can click on this and you can drag this around and place this wherever it makes sense if you've got some other notes on your drawing. And if we just go to one of the elevations, do it through display settings as well, legend, we can turn on that legend, and again, we can move it around as well. And so it's matching up. So when we go to look again, that report cabinet list, and click OK, tall wall bases, we have that legend selected. We can view that. And you'll see it's got notes and then that legend numbering. So then just to kind of summarize, we talked about going in and creating in the partner site styling sections in the rooms as your order header. And then the 2020 documentation, when you go to place the order, what we would want you to attach would be PDF copy of your drawings, which is going to include that floor plan utilizing the NKBA tab and the legend. So this is just a PDF example of what the drawing would look like. So you can see all the pages in the PDF showing the legend and the cabinet numbers. And then again, we would want you to attach the cabinet list, just like this, as we talked about, with all the information. And then you would also attach any necessary appliance specs. And if there was an apron front sink, anything else special, you can attach that as well.